Hello and welcome. I'm Amritanshu Rai and you're watching Law of the Land on Raj Sabha TV. Today we bring to you the Private Detective Agencies Regulation Bill 2007, which seeks to regulate the private detectives which have been operating without any legal framework. To discuss the issue, I have with me Mr. Kumar Vikram Singh, Chairman of Association of Private Detectives of India, and Mr. Trinath Mishra, former CBI Director. Now for the headlines. The bill provides for compulsory licensing of all detective agencies. It sets up legal framework to regulate private detective work. And the bill makes violation of privacy laws a punishable offence. The Private Detective Agencies Regulation Bill provides for compulsory licensing of detective agencies subject to certain parameters. It seeks to set up a legal framework to regulate their conduct. As of now, there is no law to regulate the conduct of private detectives and agencies.
Whether it is corporate espionage, matrimonial matters, adultery of spouses, love affairs of children, it is the private detective who is called into service. In order to deliver the best results to the clients, the detectives at times invade the privacy of individuals. It is such issues and more than that the government intends to regulating.
प्राइवेट डिटेक्टिव की प्रेजेंस हमारे देश में जरूरी है, लाइसेंस होना चाहिए। अगर लाइसेंस होगा तो रेगुलेशंस होंगे, लोग कहते हैं लॉ के अंदर काम करेंगे और अच्छे लोग काम करेंगे।
The bill seeks to provide for a mandatory license to operate as a detective agency. The proposed law sets up a central regulatory board and a state regulatory board. These boards will be responsible for granting licenses. Both the regulators will also have the power to cancel, suspend and revoke the licenses. The validity of a license will extend to a term of 5 years and can be renewed from time to time. All existing private detective agencies will also have to obtain license within a period of 180 days from the date of commencement of the law.
The government has very specifically mentioned that the foreign companies can have a minority share. It is a part of the negative list that who will not be allowed to practice in India. They said the person should not have a majority share. So the connotation is that, okay, you can have a minority share. So if you give the minority share to a foreign based company has to be registered in India. Then there is also provision that the owners, directors or partners should not be a foreigner.
The bill provides for licensing the agency and not agents. The bill bars any other entity other than one registered in India from operating in this sector. The aim of the bill is to regulate private detective agencies, but the concern is about that there is no punishment in the bill for not having such licenses. With camera person Gajendra, Aruna Thakur, Rajya Sabha TV.
According to the report of the Parliamentary Standing Committee, the bill defines private detective work as a collection of information in a lawful manner for such an objective by a licensed private detective agency, but leaves out the definition of both lawful objective and lawful manner. The question is, the definition says lawful objective, lawful manner, but doesn't define these two terms in the bill. Do you think that's proper? The Standing Committee says define it so that it's clear what is lawful objective and what is lawful manner.
You see, the Standing Committee's objection is very valid. In fact, this bill proposes to frame an enabling law, a regulatory law. It doesn't aim to frame a substantive law as such. But defining the activities as well as the procedure the lawful manner is very, very important, because detection touches a very delicate area, that is privacy of citizens, which has been a preserve of the sovereign power for so long. So once it is delegated to a licensed commercial agency, then the parameters must be set very, very clearly.
Crystal clearly.
So, that should be part of the legislation. Another contentious issue is delegating this power to the boards. You see, a board headed by an officer of the level of joint secretary has been allotted almost legislative powers. Legislation is part of the is the job of the legislature, not of boards or regulatory boards.
Yes.
So they can frame rules, but they cannot lay down the law as such, and therefore the law must be clearly defined
By the
in
legislature
act itself.
in the act itself. I'll get in Mr. Kumar Vikram Singh. The question is the definition of lawful objective,
See, like,
lawful manner.
I see lawful objective in the area of private investigation is basically a need of your client. It's a private investigation. Well, listen to me. It's a private
But
investigation.
can the state categorize it as lawful objective and lawful manner?
See, as for the
A
lawful
private need, can
yes.
it be categorized and codified as lawful objective and lawful manner if it is a private need?
It is a private need. It is a private investigation regulation act. It's a private investigation, nothing to do with the state.
Yes.
No, a person, if you are a person, you are an aggrieved person, you said you have been cheated by somebody, you have been defrauded, you want some information to carry out your business, whatever is, you need information, you know. It is only information gathering. And you have that lawful objective of running your own business. You want something like, see, verification of your employees or something like that, insurance verification, financial verification. This is a lawful objective.
Right.
So you want to do it, you don't go to a police or investigation, you go to a private investigator, you find, give me these kind of things. And private investigator will only take this assignment if you think this is a lawful objective.
Do you agree
Lawful
with
objective,
what?
that's what
You see, what Kumar Sahib is saying is correct. So far, these services are being provided in an unregulated manner.
Yes.
The services are being obtained
Yes,
from
yes,
detective agencies, but in an unregulated manner, and they do not have proper guidelines as to how to go about the business. But I'm sorry to say this proposed legislation doesn't spell out how to conduct the business properly. Moreover, it is very vague and nebulous. You see, as far as code of conduct is concerned, it is all right. But bringing in code of ethics, that is a nebulous area. So a good law does not
Leave anything weak.
Yes, I mean, it should be very, very clear and concise and precise so that no doubts are left.
But I'm sure Kumar Sahib is going to be very happy. You are happy with the bill?
See,
Because it doesn't put too much of constraints on you.
No, it is there. I mean, so we have some basic objections and all reservation with the whole things, especially the area of where their licensing can be cancelled, what kind of training to be given, what ethics and code and all that, you know. That is, but by and large, there is a little involvement of the private detective association in this, which was earlier not in Private Security Agency Regulation Act, but that also a little bit, you know, not much. But we definitely, we are a very mature industry now. We are a very mature profession being run by...
Can you give us an insight into how many detective agents are already functioning in this country? How many associations? What is the total net worth of the business that they control? Data like this, since you are part of the association, I'm sure you must be aware of these.
I'm chairman of the association. Approximately, to the best of my knowledge, more than, say, about 15 to 20,000 private detectives are working.
In India?
In India, there are very few agencies working. There are very few agencies. I think there are not more than, say, about 400 to 500 agencies.
400 to 500 agencies?
But these agencies have their field investigators to carry out, rural investigation into insurance fraud, base information gathering, matrimonial investigations. There are other things which is required, like infringement of trademarks and all all kind of counterfeit being done. So there's a huge network of intelligence people.
What is the worth of this entire business?
It's a huge, See, I tell you, it is no moreover a cat and mouse kind of profession. We are into corporate intelligence. We are into due diligence analysis. We are into financial fraud. We are into various kind of other areas which is related to the business. Pre-joint venture, post-joint venture.
So how much would it be? Kind of valuation, money-wise?
Value, I have the financial, I know, they say it is more than, say, what, I really don't know. See,
If you were to ask to give a guess, how much would it be?
I cannot guess at the moment, really, but the volume is very large. Volume is very
2 lakh crores? 3 lakh crores?
More than that.
More than that?
More than that, yes.
On that note, it's time for us to head into a break. When we come back, we will talk about how the bill seeks to tackle issues relating to privacy laws of the land. Welcome back. The bill seeks to make violation of privacy laws an offence and prescribes up to 6 months imprisonment. Privacy issues are a touchy subject in the Indian context, as the Supreme Court in several cases has held that right to privacy is inherent to fundamental rights.
The bill says that private detective agencies can collect information for lawful object in a lawful manner. However, these agencies cannot carry on such work which is forbidden by law and cannot breach the law of the country while collecting information.
किसी को ट्रैप करना है, उसके चारों तरफ के जो लोग हैं, चाहे सर्वेंट हैं, मेड हैं, फ्रेंड्स हैं, रिलेटिव्स हैं, राइवल लोग हैं, उन लोगों से इन्फॉर्मेशन गैदरिंग करनी होती है, तो कहीं ना कहीं आपकी राइट टू प्राइवेसी को चोट लग सकती है. लेकिन हाँ, इसमें कोई दो राय नहीं है कि इन्वेस्टिगेशन एजेंसी पूरी कोशिश करती है कि राइट टू प्राइवेसी कहीं से टेम्पर ना हो, लोगों को प्रॉब्लम्स ना है और इन्वेस्टिगेशन में जो इन्फॉर्मेशन क्लाइंट हमारा चाहता है वो उसको मिले.
Let's have a look at the criterion laid down for becoming a private detective in the proposed law. According to the bill, a private detective agent must be an Indian citizen, must be of 21 years of age and above, must have passed a prescribed training course and must qualify for the standards character, incidence and physical fitness. No person convicted for 2 years or more will be employed as a private detective. Let's also look at some of the areas the licensed agency can operate in. Since no definition of areas has been mentioned in the proposed law, the agency will be able to operate in investigating crimes, finding of incidents or movements of a person, providing security, searching for missing persons, giving information on another person.
In fact, I would say that the bill is a very well formulated bill. It is primarily intended to protect the rights of the private citizen against undue intrusion by a private detective agency.
The breaching of individuals' right to privacy has been made punishable. A private detective will be expected not to violate rights of an individual to privacy and freedom. In case of violation, the agent will be punished with imprisonment for up to 6 months and also up to 50,000 rupees. In addition to this, the license of the agency he belongs to may also be suspended and cancelled. Right to privacy is a fundamental right, and this will make the detective works more difficult because we cannot define right to privacy within the 4 boundaries of the wall. With camera person Gajendra, Aruna Thakur, Rajya Sabha TV.
The parliamentary panel observes that the activities of private detectives have not been defined in the bill. It recommends that the areas of operation of private detective agencies should be mentioned in the bill. My question to you is, sir, in the absence of a definition, the entire field is open, and some of the indicators that you saw, which essentially means security, intelligence gathering, investigation, all 3 things fall in your lap. Now, this makes you really powerful. And if it makes you powerful, it allows you to intervene in other people's privacy. Do you think it should be specifically mentioned in the laws and the legislation this is what you can't do, 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 this is what you can't do. If you do, your license will be cancelled, and 6 months imprisonment should be extended to 5 years.
See, I tell you, basically it doesn't make a private detective powerful, not at all. It makes him or her more useful. When you are obtaining these kind of information, it's all related to security and safety of the person, his own private life, private enterprise or interest. He doesn't carry a power at all. It is a greater responsibility on a private investigator whenever he or she is hired to obtain those critical information for an individual, for a corporate, so that they can take strategic decision in deciding their matrimonial, deciding their business, deciding the corporate control, whatever.
The client aspect I understand.
Yes,
I am on the privacy aspect.
Privacy, I tell you, see, I have my own definition of privacy. I think any person who's doing something against the state or against his certain fundamentals has no right to privacy. I mean, if you're cheating your wife, you have no right to privacy. If you're cheating a bank or cheating somebody, the right to privacy is still to be defined. Secondly, I tell you, information gathering is an art. Absolutely, you do in such a professional manner, nobody comes to know about it. If the person is caught, then you take whatever action you want to take. But basically, it is an undercover operation. Nothing can be defined, I mean, how to do it. There is a qualification, everything. He is a very senior cop, and
I get it. I'll bring
yes.
you an example. I'll give you an example. In journalism, the moment we started doing sting operation, not that it has stopped, but it came to a virtual halt just on the point that privacy issues were involved. And if you are trying to make a point or an argument that a person who is violating the law or the rules or is going against the country and the laws of the country should not be entitled to privacy, if that is the kind of argument you're giving, do you think the privacy laws as it exists right now and the definition as it exists right now should be thrown out of the window?
You see, the operational areas must be clearly defined. As far as this not having privacy where law is violated is concerned, for that the state is to take action, not private detectives. As it is, this act lays down that private detectives will not touch any area which has to do anything with cognizable offences. So as far as fraud or cheating or other such offences are concerned, private detectives are not to be involved at all. They have to, in fact...
But then they are doing it.
See, because it is unregulated. But once it becomes regulated, then these areas will be denied to them. In fact, the moment they come to know that a cognizable offence has been committed, they would be bound to inform the police and leave it to police to take further action. They have to hand over all the evidence that they have collected so far. You see, the procedure is very, very important because private detective, if it is not laid down, may cross the line and become much too intrusive. For example, surveillance. In matrimonial matters, suppose a person hires a room overlooking the target's house and starts using a telephoto lens camera and photographing all the activities. Would it amount to lurking trespass or not? That will be the moot question.
Yes.
So you see, therefore, not only operational areas, but the procedures must be laid down very clearly so that the trade is regulated and the privacy of the citizen is also maintained. See how concerned...
One question on foreign direct investment. 2007 the bill came, very healthy bill. Everyone accepts that there is need for regulation, and the existing detective agencies or the detectives, which are already huge in number, huge value attached to it, should be regulated because there are issues of privacy. But why isn't this bill being passed?
See, bill was very well
2007.
drafted. 2007. And it's
Standing committee report has also come.
Standing committee report has come, and then we've been making various kind of presentation to them that it should come because at this time, I must say, if you talk internationally where things are happening, where people are coming to India, it has to be regulated very well. But the problem is, again, the very major issue is the foreign investigation companies operating in India. That is a very major issue. And
Do you think they'll be banned and
not
moved
banned.
out, and
See,
they are the ones behind stopping this
there's
bill?
nothing mentioned about the FDI, what kind of FDI is allowed. There's nothing mentioned in the bill.
But then it is left vague.
No,
that
it is a part of the disqualification. Who should not be given license is the person who's having a majority share. If he's a foreigner, foreigner will not be allowed.
You
foreign
just need to be
partners.
registered in India
You register yourself and
and be a minority stakeholder, and you can become. That is what the standing committee has
That is
said.
the interpretation. That is the perception of the
But
whole things.
Interpretation is where the possibilities arise.
The government, a department should clarify what kind of FDI policy they should have.
Yes.
They should have. They tell me what kind of FTA, what kind of norms. We have no problems if any foreign agency is coming. If we following the act, they are most welcome to come in India. But government has to take a stand as they have taken stand in Private Security Agency Regulation Act.
Yes.
If the government is comfortable in bringing people from Pakistan, China to work in India or whoever, it is for the internal security people. Because we are professional, we have no problem.
I get it. On that note, it's time for us to head into a break. When we come back, we'll show you an interview with former Director of CBI, Mr. Joginder Singh. Welcome back. My colleague Aruna Thakur spoke to Mr. Joginder Singh, former Director CBI, and tried to get his thoughts on the bill.
There is a central and the state regulatory board which will has the powers to suspend, to renew or to grant license. Are you satisfied with the functions of all the functions specified in the bill?
The bill is grossly incomplete. It does not serve the purpose except to create an agency for giving licenses. It does not say who is eligible to be detective, what should be his qualification, what should be his background, and what are the things which they should do. It must specify, like pre-matrimonial check, insurance frauds.
The very objective of the bill is that the detective agency will carry their work in a lawful manner. Is the lawful work is specified in the bill?
You must be specific that it will not do anything which will compromise anybody. Like for instance, making the DVD or CD or photographies which will affect for this thing here. What is the harm on this thing? You must also have a provision which says that if anybody runs an agency without license, he will be sentenced to 5 years jail because he will be misleading persons here. There is no punishment except for cancelling the license.
So in the bill there is a Indian detective agencies and the foreign detective agencies. So don't you think that the coming foreign detective agencies in our India will hamper the national security?
Nothing will happen. After all, they will have tie up with them. You have foreign direct investment in so many industries also. You can have in this also. Nothing will happen. Point is, idea is here that you have to specify the areas that they can do it. That's why I said here, this is what they shall not do: spying on the interest of against the country, any passing on any information to foreign intelligence agencies of this thing.
The standing committee raises the possibility that there could be a conflict between state and private investigating agencies when contradictory information is collected. They advise not creating a parallel institution that could promote this conflict. The point you were making on the people who don't go on and get licenses. For example, this is compulsory licensing. And if there is a detective agency agent who doesn't want to go, or agency who doesn't want to go and take a license, does the proposed legislation ensure that he is punished or any action against him is proposed?
It should be included. It doesn't specifically mention what action the state proposes to take in such cases. Normally, such people can be held for cheating, impersonation. But again, the charge would be rather vague. Therefore, it should be made very, very specific, and categorically a punishment should be prescribed. So that would clarify the whole point.
The entire bill. Sir, I wanted to ask you, do you think with the existing bill, we'll be able to have a Sherlock Holmes of our own? Or will Sherlock Holmes be completely engrossed with compliances and cross-verification activity?
First, I'd like to clarify one thing, the point raised by the standing committee, that we get into conflict with the state agencies is totally wrong. See, we work in our defined area. Rather, we are supportive to the state law enforcement authorities, like infringement of trademarks and all kind of things. Wherever we find something, ultimately we obtain material fact and information and give it to the state. You take action. You know, we are very supportive. Matter of fact, we are willing to take all the non-police job to ourselves, verifications, everything. It will lessen the burden on the state machinery. There is no conflict as such. So far, there was never any such thing.
But there are always case-to-case basis.
No.
If there is a bigger money, then you will not pass it on.
No.
If there is no
See,
money.
we work for a client. We work for a client.
That's exactly I'm saying.
And client is agreed party, always agreed party. So he seek information, go to the court for litigation, support and intelligence purpose.
I get it. On the issue of compliance and cross-verification, you're making a point.
Cross-verification, see, this has to be done very properly, and you need all kind of compliances. There's no doubt about it, absolutely. And as for the Sherlock Holmes, there are many Sherlock Holmes in India, and we are doing such a wonderful job. We are internationally reputed. Yeah. You know, in 1989, I got elected to the Executive Director of Council of International Investigator. In 2006, I got the Best Investigator of the World Award. 2007, I worked for United Nations. So we have achieved that kind of success internationally. We are very well, and we follow Code of Ethics. International Code of Ethics we follow here. But the only thing we request to the government that secondly, which is very important area I like to bring is in this bill, which is a slightly not acceptable, is the power given to a police officer to come and inspect our files and all. So these are all confidential document. It is an agreement between our and client. You know, it's like advocate as a client. We don't pass on those information. And if somebody come and see what's happening, you never know the integrity of a fellow. He go and divulge those information, pass on information, and the whole case go fast.
Do you agree with him?
Yes, I mean,
should the police officer not be allowed to
there
interfere?
Should be provision for inspection by state agency, but I think at an appropriate level. It should not be made much too commonplace. Otherwise, it can lead to malpractices. And I would say that an enactment is necessary, but this bill doesn't seem to be up to it. And so it has to be sort of redrafted.
And revisited.
Yes, and revalidated.
To actually go through. Thank you, sir, for joining us on this discussion. It's time for us to end the show. You can email your suggestions and comments to law.rstv@gmail.com. You can also watch our shows on the YouTube. We'll be back with a new issue and a new episode. Keep watching Raj Sabha TV.